Hello, everybody. This is Maurice Kempner. I'm an attorney, real estate broker, and business consultant. Welcome to True Legacy Wealth Media. The IRS has some limits on the mortgage interest that you can deduct on your primary home and your second home. And what this is currently in 2024, if you go out and you buy a house or a second home, you can borrow up to $750,000 on the mortgage and deduct the interest on that. Now, if it's more than that, so let's say you borrow $800,000, then you have to prorate it, and there's a formula for that that you use on your tax return. But if you're married and you buy a house and you borrow $750,000, you're okay. If you go over that, then you have to prorate it. But however, if you're a couple and you're not married and you buy a house together, then each person on their own non-joint single tax return can deduct the interest on up to $750,000 of acquisition debt when they buy their first and second home, right? So there are certain rules to make mortgage interest deductible, and some of these rules are the loan has to be secured by the property, so it can't be a personal loan from grandma or credit card or anything. It has to be a mortgage secured by the property. You have to actually be legally required to make the payment, and then you have to actually make the payment. So let's say two people that aren't married move in here together, and one person makes all the payment on a $1.5 million loan. Well, they can only deduct up to 750, the interest on 750,000 of it, right? But let's say each person pays half of the loan payment. Well, all three of those requirements I just gave you are then met. So the bottom line is if you're a couple and you're not married, you can borrow up to $1.5 million on a first and second home and write the interest out on your taxes. Now, this can make a difference of tens of thousands of dollars, like $15,000, $20,000, depending on your tax bracket and so on. So something to be aware of, because there's a lot of couples out there nowadays that just don't get married. They're married for all intents and purposes, they just don't get a marriage license. And if you follow the rules correctly, you can borrow a lot more than $750,000 and write off the interest on it when you buy a house together. So that limit won't apply to you, only if you're married and only if you're a single person and you buy the house. But if you buy it with somebody else, and the reason for this is because each person, each tax return is the way to look at it. If it's a single or had a household tax return, the maximum is allowed on mortgage interest is the interest on $750,000 of debt. If it's a joint tax return with two people on it because they're married, a married filing jointly tax return, it's still $750,000. So each single person filing their own separate tax return can write this off. If you file single when you're married, though, and you do this, that's a type of tax evasion. I don't recommend it. It's prison time. So anyway, that's the rule, and I would definitely talk to a tax professional about it that knows what they're doing if you plan on doing something like this. But it's easy enough to do, and it's certainly available, and it can certainly increase the amount of money you might want to borrow to get a house together. I hope that helps.